everybody. Welcome to Malvern Books. We are so excited to invite back 3 poets that we love tonight. You're in for a real treat. Joining us from out of town is poet Timothy Donnelly, and we are celebrating his new book, The Problem of the Many. We also have a couple of local poets for y'all to introduce first. So up first is Logan Fry. Logan is the author of Harpo Before the Opus, winner of Omnidawn's 2018 first and second book prize. He is the founding editor of Flag and Void. He lives in Austin and teaches at Texas State University. Welcome, Logan.
Thank you. So glad to be here again. So happy to be reading with Timothy and Leanna. I'm going to read some mostly shorter poems, short lyrics from this book. Stage glass. Preserve the painting under dirt, sure. I'd keep a foot slung over the fence, I were you. Yours are sources, riffs wear, an opalescent film. Time so loves its lacquer. If one is to confab weather, surface will do. Plus, what's not weather? Bend in closer, loose the atom slough over a departure. A river is only to make time livid. In imminence peak. Ruin fixed permanent in me, care for its publics take dismissed. Plastic as the ocean, and from a higher tuft its flakes sift through to compile by rational degrees. The city leaks. About the seal's foundations, knowing's peak. Gentlemen get addressed and tanned by credit's hearth. I'm tasked to hurl logs in. Then there's this task force that was formed to garner loss and file it, and forget where the file went. I forge them in my free time. I accumulate in cubic grains, then sift, sort, and allot by use of shift plus left parenthesis plus the insert. Then I use it all in thinking up new formats to foresee the data pile in. Public, I would say, is misnomer. Faces don't align as such, except where waste is figured in. Encouraged in factorials, one had planned, so could plot out, and then so did. I lapse near Nisha's absence, yellowing its curl to delay age, becoming then not young, but tenuous, to better straddle value's cusp, and lap at what has come to replicate its place amongst the system it designed to later make itself within. The city seeks its replica be neotenous, its model Swiftian for fun, and how it propagates, or not quite that, but, well, because its lean concept of fun is pain augmented for the peak of purpose, levitated high as need, and near as crystalline and reflex, I am tasked to proof it in. Dubai sent us its yeast, and now alleges something untoward led to that. It may be true. Florid gestures now abound where Turing's coins before spelt purity, within the error folded into ethos's now empty set, where the stock fondant of the ocean rends, the larger will of calculus, mode pure yet from its purer grit, in all values marbled all this wasted mire firm. The dark era. Adjacency labors in green belief. Nearby are bent backs rearing up, then again going low, as pistons do. It is through machinery we collate this, not via human labor, as though the meat men wrung sweat from, bent over the machines that built the tools to make machines, were so taken by the task that none of man remains. So exhausted this mimesis buried in the task. When a thing is near, there is a sense in which the thing solely can become yet nearer. A threshold of what is so just then, being brought irrevocably into being, because known. Curb labor and then continue to sweat leisure. Let no good lack of work go undone, or, done, go without laying waste to laying around in a warm bed. Time, much like its father, feces, must go somewhere. It's all about allocation. I don't know what to do with it once it is handed to me. Then it is no longer near, the touching of the thing being when belief transfigures into work. Belief is not what hands do. Fugitiveness and proclivity. The plainness of telling is wet work. Cast later, then nearer, time wills tells forward. The abundance of truth is no levy. I admit I harvest precision from love. Lear was precious about rending. That doesn't bud sublimates our trust, norms used to lure a fig from ripeness. And then I have two new poems that I think I want to read. The first of them is called Apple Pie. And so if you think of McDonald's when you think of that, then you're on the right track for the poem. You might refer to this as causeless forest. There's a canopy I bled from, a dour state of exception, no film that's gathered across the surface where the light most landed, forlorn despite it, warring with convergence, being relevant, some past cube of hour, done with grace almost, like the strands of any moment pretend to be tangible, as if just enough a dexterous surf appeared, bolded by soil and silent, thus capable. No capers needed to plant discord in a marbled lobby. Woe is rage's bouillon, whereas anger is gelatinous and irreducible. It clings to the finest mesh, and even if you pour it off the daintier greed, insecurity slimes the valleys, any pock, the slightest abrasion, its sour bonds let anger fancy itself of rage's durability. I pressure wash for myself low need and board the sodden husk of friendship 500, bobbing calmly in her dock above wet graves, not mossy, but of moss time pressed to dense compacts well underfoot, dotted by time's pests, forces legality, a apple that bopped me noggin. It smells of hooves and beef tallow and a glaze one had lovingly whipped stiff peaks of, slow to proceed. And likewise, I know debt to be the oil that makes fungible a good sear of a surf in all its grime, in all its for real embarrassing outfits one dare not fillet from its fleshier parts, as deemed much too icky of a prep, but can tolerate if nose upturned when dunking in the oil hole. I notice the lino slippery underfoot as my own shames left slick, tragic as a deal, and laden with ability to capitalize on what's now a trillion served and may have been by then even, or else nearer to the city's love, the flipper, or further, if it's not too much of a stretch, the one who sought redo it as his soggy tomb. Unfortunately, he can't die, he learned, or else it's that he simply won't, because he lags off Q3's projections, or is it that he outpaces number 4 and 1 again, out somehow ahead? I can't be sure how it sorts out. I can gaze now through a starboard pane at a lineage of firs, some rustlings among the family of the firs that function as a single nubbly smear, but when I assume to be the wind alives, a branch does individuate itself, or several, but I can only see one at a time. I'm just one man. What do you want from me? I've come here, I'm here, our contract is intact. I'll do my work as I see fit. This is it. So yeah, I'm pissed, bub. Just keep pushing it. The film is tacky and it coats our fears. It's sticky and just gross, but reticence only pumps it up, like literally makes its layers sprout. And then you're inside them, and then totality. The broker left yesterday and the keys where he said so, under the loose post, the one the crabs seemed to really like a lot, fastened like desire latches and if to just anything. On a grand staircase, I don't look outward where the firs all gloat and sag in the last, the heaviest and the darkest particles, but down between the 1-inch bolts that fit the female custom slats, not quite metal nor made of plastic, but as if a grove of these were sexed by Foxconn engineers in Colony to forge exploit a new fun organ, taut, a textile that our earth will birth and love as if her own, to dote upon with sour runoff turned sweetly into dew. And if the hue of gravity that pulls us in as if it dips us into softest flesh lets up, it does so as to say, I come of my own will. I mentally unwrap one final piping hot, big and tasty. My dear friend Grimace has flown in. And this one, we're going to end with this. It looks long, but it's very fast. I'm going to be turning. It's called The Harm Demands. I'm sorry is best said when you're not saying sorry for a thing you've done, but saying I'm sorry instead to signal how you feel about another's error or misdeed that has caused harm or hardship to the one you care for and wish to repair or restore to good feeling, that you're sorry they've been severed from, and which you who is not the guilty one can better repair from a safe view of it all, outside it all, or even just the one moment or exchange that wronged the one you care for, and you wish to make feel better than they now must feel, or better yet than they did prior to what's wrong been done to them. But I'm sorry is too often used as a kind of void for feeling, by which I mean a place invented so the speaker can fulfill an empty gesture that will function as a filling gesture of completion of a feeling, so no other need or feeling needs to be addressed, or as so much as noted, because I'm sorry is the end of that. A washing of the hands is a bad impulse we must fight off in us for friends, by which I mean a friend can only be as such if there will be no washing of the hands as such. A gesture severs love. Yet love should be severed, or should be open to the severing, or maybe what love should be is to be the open possibility of severing, met with the choice to not enact what one could do to end, what one could choose to end so efficiently as with a washing of the hands, instead of saying, I'm sorry, in either of its above forms. It's absolutely vital to mean I'm sorry when you need to mean it, but if it needs so badly to be meant, then a mere I'm sorry won't suffice to ease the hurt you are and need to be sorry for, so why say it at all? I'd argue this a fair point to make, and in a way I wish the world had been built so that to say what needs be said but itself is not sufficient were rightly understood as redundant excess that is worth nobody's time to tell, even more seen as a wasteful or even an obscene gesture to enact, because it makes the other party, who is the one already hurt, have to enact acceptance of the empty gesture, just to proceed to where their hurt may then begin to be addressed, having only just been noted as such as it is, by way of emptiness, the sorry party, or at least the party who should be sorry and who has been delaying real apology by saying I'm sorry when more than a mere sorry is what the harm demands. In a world built to not accommodate the empty gesture as accepted initiate of a process to acknowledge the harm that one has done to the harmed one has in fact been done, the one whose harm would in this world be always already acknowledged as a real and present harm been done, would feel the gesture of contrition that would come to a real and present gesture, by which I mean the gesture would not cease to be a gesture, but would be gesture as enactment of the thing it gestures at, unsaddled by unhelpfulness, or any excess or deficit of feeling for the one harmed, and that one wishes to not say, but to be and say. I'm sorry to mean and to be known to mean, just that, and nothing else but that. I'm sorry for both that, and that the world in which my sorriness for both does not exist. And so both must always be said, if one is to already be said, to say the harm. Thank you.